When it comes to crime dramas, the Law and Order franchise has built a reputation that spans decades and countries. Now, with Law and Order Toronto, Criminal Intent, the first Canadian spin off of the franchise, the formula travels north of the border and gets a fresh flavor. While the show actually premiered in Canada back in 2024, U.S. audiences finally got to watch it when it aired on the CW this week. For longtime fans of the Law and Order universe, the premiere felt both familiar and brand new at the same time. It gave viewers the classic rhythm of a mysterious case, sharp detectives, and a courtroom-style ending. But it also added a unique Canadian identity, full of local settings, subtle cultural touches, and characters who carry their own quirks. The first episode wastes no time pulling the audience into a story full of shady business dealings, crypto scams, betrayal, and a murder mystery that ends with a clever twist hiding in plain sight. The episode begins with a narration that sets the stage in Toronto's war on crime, the worst offenders are pursued by the detectives of the Specialized Criminal Investigations Unit. These are their stories. It instantly connects to the traditional Law and Order format, but signals that we're in Toronto now, and this team is tackling crimes that threaten the city in new ways. Right after the opening, we're thrown into a lively party scene. Daniel, a flashy finance guy with a cryptocurrency company, is hosting a booze cruise for his investors. He's full of charm and confidence, trying to reassure his guests that their investments are safe, even though the mood is tense. He slips an envelope full of cash to one of them, which feels immediately shady, and it plants suspicion about how legitimate his business really is. While the party looks glamorous, cracks start to show. Daniel looks unwell, and his wife Sophie gives him medication, telling him to rest. This moment feels important because it sets up the idea that his health is a factor and raises questions about who has access to his meds. Soon after, Daniel goes to the edge of the boat for air. The camera makes it clear that someone approaches him, but the audience cannot see who it is. The encounter turns tense, and before long, Daniel falls overboard into Lake Ontario. The scene cuts off before giving us answers, but it's obvious that this wasn't just a drunken accident. Someone wanted Daniel out of the way. The next morning, Daniel's disappearance is reported, and this brings in the detectives who will carry the show. Detective Sergeant Henry Graff, played by Aidan Young, and Detective Sergeant Frankie Bateman, played by Kathleen Munro. They're introduced as the leads of the Specialized Criminal Investigations Unit, and from the start their chemistry is clear. Graff is quirky, almost eccentric, with a mind that carries odd bits of knowledge like Fox Mulder from the X-Files. Bateman, on the other hand, is sharp, grounded, and juggling her own personal life as a single mom raising a son. Their boss, Inspector Vivienne Holness, played by Karen Robinson, adds the tough but supportive superior officer energy that every Law and Order fan expects. The case kicks into gear when Graff and Bateman visit Daniel's company, Bigaplex. On paper, the business looks huge, with claims of having $300 million in assets. But when the detectives dig deeper, they discover the bank account is completely empty. This makes them suspect Daniel might have staged his own death to escape with the money. The theory fits the profile of a conman on the run, fake a drowning, vanish overseas, and live off the stolen fortune. However, Daniel's business partner, Nick, insists that Daniel would never do such a thing. Nick defends him strongly, but the detectives remain suspicious. Their suspicions are confirmed when Daniel's body eventually washes ashore. Clearly, this is no fake death. It's a murder. And now the team needs to find out who was behind it. The autopsy reveals that Daniel was poisoned with pentobarbital, likely slipped into the sparkling wine he had been drinking on the boat. This revelation brings Sophie, his wife, into focus. Was she the one who poisoned him? She was the one giving him meds earlier, and spouses are often suspects in these cases. But things take a turn when Sophie herself becomes a victim. She's terrorized by someone demanding crucial information, and in one terrifying moment, she's even run over by a car in her own driveway. It becomes clear that Sophie isn't the mastermind behind Daniel's death. She's another pawn caught in a much bigger and darker scheme. As Graff and Bateman continue investigating, more details about the characters are revealed. Graff's eccentric intelligence shines as he pieces together connections that others might overlook. Bateman shows her dedication, balancing the stress of her demanding job with her personal responsibilities as a mom. Their banter adds humor and warmth to the otherwise tense story. Meanwhile, Inspector Holness provides the grounding authority, always pushing her team to dig deeper and solve the case quickly. The deeper the detectives go, the more the focus shifts toward Nick, Daniel's business partner. They learn that Nick is actually a con artist who met Daniel back in college. At first, Nick and Sophie had colluded to trick Daniel, but things didn't go according to plan. Sophie ended up genuinely falling in love with Daniel, and when she confessed everything, Daniel forgave her. The two worked through it and even planned to build a family together. Sophie is revealed to be 8 weeks pregnant, which raises the stakes even higher. With Daniel gone, Sophie and her unborn child are left vulnerable, while Nick is desperate to get his hands on the money. The hunt turns into a chase for something called a dead man's code. This is essentially a secret key or passcode Daniel had hidden away, which could unlock access to the company's funds. Everyone wants it: Nick, the investors, and the criminals circling Sophie. At one point, Nick believes he has the code, but the string of numbers he possesses turns out to be useless. The real code is still hidden, and the tension builds as everyone tries to uncover it before it's too late. In the climax of the episode, Bateman and Graff set a trap for Nick. They lure him to Daniel and Sophie's home under the pretense of helping him with the code. Inside the house, Graff paces the nursery, where the wallpaper with letters and numbers lines the wall. He calmly begins laying out the case for Nick, explaining how Daniel and Sophie's love derailed Nick's plans to run away with the money. Graff also reveals that Daniel had been planning to meet with the head of the police fraud unit to turn Nick in and cut a deal. The more Graff talks, the more unhinged Nick becomes. In a moment of desperation, Nick blurts out that Daniel can't be alive because he personally saw him fall overboard and drown. That slip of the tongue becomes his undoing, because it serves as a confession. Police officers immediately swoop in and arrest him. But then comes the final twist. Throughout the confrontation, Graff and Bateman had been bluffing. They told Nick they had Daniel alive and cooperating with them, but in reality, Daniel was truly dead. What they did have, however, was the genuine dead man's code, and it allowed them to return the stolen money to Daniel's investors. When Bateman asks how Graff managed to figure out the long sequence of numbers, he points to the wallpaper in the baby's room. At first, it looks like an innocent alphabet and numbers design, but Graff noticed that it was actually arranged to spell out the code. It had been hiding in plain sight the whole time. This clever detail not only solves the case, but also shows just how sharp Graff's mind is, making him a unique and valuable character in the series. The episode closes with justice served, but also leaves the audience with plenty to look forward to. The premiere does an excellent job of balancing the crime of the weak formula with building its characters and teasing out their backstories. Graff's oddball intelligence and Bateman's grounded approach make them a dynamic pair, while Sophie's tragic storyline adds emotional weight to the mystery. The Canadian setting feels fresh, but still very much in line with what Law and Order fans love. It delivers a mix of corruption, betrayal, and moral choices, wrapped in the signature style of the franchise. For American viewers seeing Law and Order Toronto, Diurge, Criminal Intent for the first time, the premiere is a strong introduction. It proves that the Law and Order formula works just as well in Canada as it does in New York or Los Angeles. By weaving in local culture, a new set of characters, and a thrilling case that keeps viewers guessing until the final minutes, the show establishes itself as a worthy addition to the universe. The combination of shady crypto dealings, murder mystery, and a code hidden in a nursery wallpaper makes for a truly memorable first episode. It feels like the beginning of something exciting, and fans are already eager to see what cases the Toronto team will take on next.